Let's jump to this next story. We got a story from Variety. Luke Rudkowski's dad, Bill Maher, says woke baggage is Democrats' biggest problem. Stop talking about pregnant men. Man, what a turnaround. First, the important thing, he's not really Luke's dad.
Yeah, and Vladimir Putin is not Luke's uncle.
That's right. None of this
And
is
Assange.
happening.
If all three of them had a DNA baby somehow, I would pop out probably.
Pop out.
Yeah.
But a few years ago, Dennis Prager goes on Bill Maher's show and he's like, they're claiming that men can have periods. And then Bill Maher's like, no, they're not. And he's like, yes, they are. And they're putting tampons in the men's room. And Bill Maher is like, oh, it's for their girlfriends. You're crazy. Now Bill Maher is coming out and saying, like, stop talking about pregnant men. So maybe, I guess I can bring this up because I think what happens with Bill Maher is that he's kind of seeing the writing on the wall. He's like, uh-oh, this weird woke cult stuff is not popular. And if we keep embracing it, we're going down. So he saw the writing on the wall. He's changing his tune and pushing back and saying no to this. I think this is a white pill moment. Like, we can talk about the weirdo cult. We can talk about industry control. But let's just say this. You got prominent HBO mainstream liberal personality pushing back on wokeness. You've got independent artists gaining traction, expanding, and pushing back on the machine, literally actually raging against the machine, and succeeding. So I look at this like, the weirdo uniparty cult ain't working out. It's fizzling.
Right, and I think a lot of it is because it lacks common sense, right? And it almost feels like a test of how far, what can we program these people to believe, right? Like if you're starting to lose common sense, like it's obvious that men can't get pregnant. Obvious, it's like, right? Come on, but it's almost like, let's run this test to see who we can convince this and what part of people are convincible to do anything, right? Like you have people that are jumping onto this, right? Those are the people that are unreasonable. Those are the people that no matter what facts you show that are currently going on, they will deny the facts. You could show them, data from a year later. They'll deny the data. You could show them, men can't get pregnant. Oh, I don't believe that.
You don't need to show them that. I mean, it's ridiculous.
But it's crazy. That's what I'm saying. It's like how far can we program certain people? It's almost like a test. It's almost like they're running tests to see how convincible.
That's why I'm saying, simulation theory, baby. We are in a computer simulation, and there's someone sitting there going like, okay, let's enter the parameters, and let's now introduce telling all of the Americans that men can get pregnant.
I think they're hacking.
17% actually agreed with that.
They're hacking the way people think, because like Darwin, for instance, would say it's not the strongest of the species that survives, but the one that's most adaptable to change. And if people change to believe psychosis, that's part of, like, we're able to do that if we need to survive for the moment. Let's just pretend that eating the frozen dead bodies, we've crash landed in the Arctic. Let's pretend like it's normal.
What?
Everyone get, like, you see that movie Alive, where
Yes.
that group went down, they had to eat each other to survive. You just put yourself in a moment of psychosis where, like, this is normal, we're gonna get through it. And then, for better or worse, we've basically accepted something that you might normally think is psychotic. So I think people have hijacked that with social media, and they're feeding it, and they're like transiting people or something.
It's what Stalin said. So he had plucked all the hairs off this chicken, right? And
feathers?
All the feathers. Yep. Thank you for that. So you're the chicken master. I don't have
chickens,
a chicken,
man.
So he tortured this chicken. And then after torturing the chicken, gave it a little food. And then the chicken followed him around for the rest of the day.
It's hungry.
And he essentially says, it's like, you could torture people, you could torture animals, you could torture something, and if you just give it a little morsel, it'll come back to you for more. And I feel like we're being conditioned right now to the financial crisis that we're in. We're being conditioned that inflation could be at 80%, 10's not bad. We're being conditioned that you want your own apartment when you can't afford it. Well, just get 2 roommates. Like, we're being conditioned to like lower
Our standards of life.
Our standards of life. Like, you're working 40 hours a week, you don't have any money, living in your car. Like, well, there's a lot of people doing that. So you should be grateful that you're not in the tent in Portland. Like,
do you see what David Hogg said? So for those that don't, you guys know David Hogg. He's the one of the gun control activist guys on Twitter, and he said that he's not going to have kids. He'd rather have a Porsche or a Portuguese water dog. And a lot of people saw that tweet. I retweeted it, and I quote tweeted him and said, "Thank you for your sacrifice, David. You're making the future a better place."
Yeah.
But it goes both ways. Like, fighting climate change. Hey, all right, not having kids. Hey, double win. But here's what people missed. His first tweet in the thread, he said something like, "Children are the new luxuries." And what I mean is, it's something where you it's really difficult to have. You can't afford it. So it's nice when your friend comes by and shows it off, but it's not for you because you can't afford to have
It's like
one.
a boat. That's what he said. Children are like the modern day boat.
That's what he said.
That's a way to take happiness off people. My children are
that's
the greatest thing that ever
crazy.
happened in my life. And when I hear someone, go to that extent to say like, I'm not gonna have kids, like they're punching themselves. That's him punching themselves. I love my kids so much. It's such a gift, and it selfishly does so much for me to have my kids, because I get to feel this love, and I get this bond and this connection that I think, if that's the direction they're going to go, where they want to push everyone into not having kids and not experiencing that love and not being able to spend time with family, I think that's a bad direction. I think that's a bad direction. It's another direction away from God. It's another direction into the
servitude.
The servitude, the satanicism. It's just another way to suck love away from you, or suck the greatest things in life out of your life. It's just
the biggest gift, denying it to yourself because of some propaganda that you heard, because of some elitist newspaper telling you that it's bad for the environment, which is absolutely just an insane thought, and just debunk on its basic premise.
But his point was, it's like a boat where it's like your friend has one. It's fun to go visit and see theirs, but not have one yourself. And then he says, I'd rather have a Portuguese water dog. He said, what did he say? He also said something. I mean, these are interesting points to be made. No, I don't agree necessarily, but he's making interesting points that he was basically saying a pet is cheaper than a kid. It reaches a certain point where it's not going to get any more expensive. You don't got to pay for college. A house plant is cheaper than a pet. You get it, you have it, you take care of it. But he's actually making a really great point. For people who want something to take care of, child is one of the hardest things, but one of the most rewarding. I mean, you're on your deathbed and you've got a human being who loves and is caring for you and making sure you're comfortable on your way out. A dog ain't going to do that.
But a Porsche,
dog is cheaper. A dog is cheaper. So instead of spending, I think it's like $250,000 to raise a kid or something, you're spending $10,000 on a dog. Maybe then you can't even deal with that level of taking care of something because you got to schedule letting it out. So you get a cat. But then you don't really, maybe you can't afford the cat, so you get a plant. Now the plant is like the lowest level of caring for a life form.
But they're also missing a huge point of what kids do to your motivation as well. Most people will say that raising kids are hard, but once you have your kids, you're going to do anything you have to do to give them the best life, and usually you become a better person because of those kids, and you get motivated to work harder, make more money, be a better family man.
Yeah.
And
strengthens your spirit too. I'm telling you, it brings you closer to God. You have kids, you feel some form of spiritual power within yourself and connection to another being that helps you up your level, man. You level up, and it's, I walked around in my 20s saying I'm never gonna have kids, and spoke like that, and then you learn, and I would say for anyone that feels like they don't need to have kids, I do think you miss out on a bit of a spiritual connection with God. You miss out on just a love that is just indescribable. And the people that are going to be by your bedside, look, my father just passed away. I love you, Dad. And it was me and my brother with him, and my mom. It was us.
Yeah. So we talked about this, about a lot of women who are lying to themselves or are scared to express themselves. The Young Turks, it's remarkable how they can like take what I say and then completely ignore what I say, but show what I say and then turn it into something I didn't say. So I said, basically, I'm sure most women are happy to have their jobs and their success, and more power to them. I have tremendous respect to anybody, male or female, they want to get a job and succeed. But I think there are some women, and a lot of them, that really do just want to have families and not be breadwinners, but are worried about this because it's not as socially acceptable anymore, and they're expected to have careers, and with the economy the way it is, they have to work. So there's a lot of these women that are either denying it, they're lying to themselves, or they're too scared to speak up. But once they're older, they're going to regret it.
Yeah.
They're going to regret it. Now, I'm not saying literally every woman. I'm not saying the majority of women. I'm saying there's just a lot of women who are probably experiencing this. So take that out of context, Young Turks, by all means. But I think it's true. I think the thing is, for guys, they can have kids. Like there's like 70-year-old dude can have a kid.
Yeah, Clint Eastwood did that.
I mean, you got 4 million little soldiers firing off in each attempt, and only one of them needs to be viable.
I hear the woman's body decides which sperm implants the egg too, fertilizes the egg. Like I
a
don't know,
doorman.
magnetic or something.
I don't know about that, but everyone has
It's true.
a window to fertility. Men also as well, but not as severe as women. That by the age of 30 lose almost 90% of all the eggs that they had throughout their entire life and existence. And even talking about this, it's a touchy subject because people automatically get very emotional. But I think at the end of the day, there's a legitimate argument to make that a lot of women have been brainwashed to serve corporations rather than, of course, their own families. And I think that's something that deserves to be talked about, deserves to be debated. And, we could be wrong on this particular topic, but again, at least let's have the conversation. That's being denied to everyone. And having children is something that gives a lot of people purpose, something that allows people to have something greater than themselves. Charles Oliveira, he's a UFC champion.
I love him.
He had a couple of fights in his career. He lost some, he won some, but then he went on a streak where he just dominated everyone. He's one of the best fighters right now in the UFC, and he attributes having a child to him being on a trajectory and on a purpose that made him that much better than almost everyone else in the division. And he's dominating. He's one of the best fighters that the UFC has ever seen. And he attributes that to having children. So that's a power there
That's
that
what
I
you
think
were
is
saying.
worth tapping into. Yep.
You just got to imagine that the guy you're fighting is trying to punch your kid.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you're just like invincible. The other guy's fighting for sport. You're fighting for your kid. I mean, even in all seriousness, you're fighting against somebody who doesn't have kids. And many of them do. But like you're fighting for someone who's passionate and driven by sport. You're driven by protecting your family. You're probably going to have a leg up on.
And then I'm reading the comments here. Someone's telling me, I was going to have my eggs frozen. People don't understand that also leads to a lot of problems and also has a very big risk of not working. And you could probably talk about this, Lydia, because I think you did some research into this as well.
Oh, I never looked at freezing my eggs because I know that's not a good idea, but I have lots of friends who've done IVF. It's incredibly painful. It's a horrible process. If you can avoid it, you should. I think we need to emphasize getting married and making families younger, but it's a cultural issue that I don't know if we can change from the top down. We'll have to see what happens.
When you were first having kids, Rick, did you go through like a panic state?
Yeah, of course. It's just everyone goes through the same process, right? You don't want you almost fear yourself out of having them, and then we watched it happen with our guitar player. Like 1 year before, he's telling me like, I'm just not meant to have kids, man. It ain't in my cards. I don't want them. Blah blah blah. Like the whole speech, and I'm like, I don't know, man. Like I told him, I said, when you have a kid, you're gonna think your kid's the greatest. It's all you're gonna talk about.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think so. If I called him right now, I'd be like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Hanging out with my little buddy. He's the greatest, man. You got to see him. He's already playing Stairway to Heaven on the guitar. He's won." Like you said, the best sperm gets into the door, right? So you're proud, you're pumped, and I, what Luke, you were saying. I think that it's embedded in women. It's embedded in us to have this nature, this motherly nature, this fatherly instinct. And I think women are just so great at family. And my wife is amazing at keeping our family together and helping me lead and make me a better person. And it's just, family is so important. And I think that women are so good at it that when you see corporations or whatever it may be that's making them not want to have kids or not want to experience that, they're not experiencing something that they're just so great at. They're just, for a husband to watch my wife, I'm just blown away all the time by her ability to be so family oriented, such a great mother. I could just sit here all day, but it's just a characteristic of great women.
I used to say I didn't want to have kids unless I could bring them around the world with me. I want to travel and go. Like, how have you dealt with being on the road when you tour with having kids if you don't bring them along? Because I don't know, do you bring them? I think we talked before and you said you don't bring them along every time.
I don't bring them along every time, but I know I got to provide for them, and that's very important. And I know I got to provide a good life. And I think the way our schedule is I like it. I like going for 2-3 weeks, working so hard with my best friends. I'm in a band with my best friends. It gives me another balance to my life. We have a great time together, and then I get to go home and be with my kids and my wife 24 hours a day. I don't got to wake up and show up to no job for 8 hours, take an hour break when I get to be with my family for 2-3 months straight, all day, every day. And the juice is worth the squeeze to me. So yeah, I missed them.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.